Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, author of Visualizing Happiness in Every Area of Your Life and hosted this podcast, Incredible Life Creator. And today I have with me Arlene and Jean Rumley. Hey, thanks for coming on.
Hi, thank you for having us. We really appreciate it.
Yes, we do. It's definitely a pleasure and an honor. We've seen some of your podcasts and the wonderful people that tell their stories. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and you guys have stories. So I'm going to start by reading Jean's bio. So Jean Rumley has over 40 years in business and with 30 years of international experience. He is the owner of a nonprofit and for-profit company, Mission for Orphans, for 20 years in world outreach marketing. Professionally, he worked globally with various companies as an international consultant, president, vice president of two corporations in Australia for 6 years, and a national and global trainer for three corporations. His training experience has been in business, personal development, marketing, management, and sales throughout the US, India, Australia, New Zealand, Taiwan, Poland, Italy, China, Canada, and everywhere. I added that part. All over the place. And then, Arlene, I don't have your bio, my mistake, but can you tell us a little bit about you and your story?
Too. I was born and raised in Chicago. Okay, so I am from the north, and my husband's from the south. So we have some funny incidents with that. But anyway, I was brought up there, went to school there in the Windy City, and well, this will kind of come intertwined with the story coming later. But while I was in high school and just finished high school, actually, I entered the convent because I thought that was going to be my life was going to be a nun. But it didn't turn out that way. I was very inspired there. I was taught many beautiful disciplines of life and joy and peace and more about God. But after a few years, I decided that really wasn't what was in my heart, although I took with me what was implanted into me at that time. So then I got into the business world as a single young woman. I worked in Jamaica and for Jamaica in the city of Chicago with tourists. I also became a secretary, and then I joined a business uh, when Gene, my husband, came into the picture. And so he may want to start with that because it kind of gets to be a little bit funny how this man from the South and this woman from the North got themselves together.
Yeah, very funny because I had an R&B band for 7 years. That was my first business, managing and putting the band together. And we played North Carolina, South Carolina, and up into Virginia, where I was from at that particular time. And we cut 3 records, and we were on the way up, and it was doing the Vietnam War, and we kept getting some of our recruits being recruited to Vietnam, and so I was all the time replacing people, and so at that particular time, we had a couple of them that went there and was in the war, and one of our singers, one of our top singers that we were getting ready to cut a record with, got killed in Vietnam. So we had some success there, and because of the continuous switching around, it got very difficult to keep and record like we wanted to and make a hit. So I think we had another plan there that I needed to go to. So anyway, I got into business right after that and direct sales and everything. And I was pretty successful because I got a lot of training on goals and vision and purpose and those things I never did hear about. And so it kind of launched me in a new direction. So I went to Michigan first, and then they promoted me to the state of Illinois. That's where I went to Chicago. And my first meeting, her and her sister was sitting there, and I was telling a joke about a widow lady.
Can I tell a story?
You want to tell a story? Go ahead.
Okay. This is where we met. Okay. So my sister and I happened to be in the same business that he was in, and he was coming there as a state director. So they had just promoted Gene in the company, and we were coming this particular evening to hear our new state director speak. Well, Gene had a very thick Southern accent many, many years ago. And my sister and I went to the presentation, and we sat there kind of in the middle, and we're looking up at him and course, everybody's kind of sizing him up, who's our new state director. And so he starts to tell a joke about a little lady,
It's a widow lady.
a widow lady. But, okay. Anyway, when he finished the joke, hardly no one laughed. And my sister and I kept poking each other, and we'd say, do you know what he's talking about? A little lady? A little lady? Laugh, and other people were kind of whispering, laughing. So he finished and never did get an applause for it. Anyway, when he finished the meeting, we went up to him and said, we're so sorry we didn't laugh at your joke, but we didn't get it about the little lady. And that's when he said, no, it wasn't a little lady, it was a widow. A widow. So that's kind of how we met.
Mm-hmm.
Were making fun of me and laughing, so we're kind of behind my back. So I got even, and later on I married her. So
So she had to listen to you all the time.
so anyway, we worked together for a while, and then I got promoted a couple of times, and I went to the East Coast or West Coast of the U.S. for this company I was working with, and I was training a lot of the men for direct sales and that type of thing for a year. And right when I started there, I said, hey, the women need to have some training. And the company said, well, who are you going to have to train them? I said, well, I got the perfect person. And if I can put a class together, and both of us can teach the women and the men, and we're going to get more sales that way. So anyway, I recruited her to come to Reno, Nevada, and we started holding classes, and we'd have 100, 150 people come in, and we'd train them for a week and then let them go. And we were switching back and forth, training men and women. Mm-hmm. And that's, we did that for a while.
We trained on things like purpose. What is your purpose in life? Do you know? And most of the people really didn't know. And I really didn't know years ago either if somebody would have asked me that question. But so we really, it was a lot of personal development training on how to set a goal. What is your purpose in life? What are your priorities in life? What are the things that you wish you could do, but don't believe enough in yourself to do them? So we did that for a couple of years. Yeah. And then we were asked to go to Australia because they were opening a company there. So we both went over there as trainers, and it was kind of a different kind of love story because we kind of fell in love. Not kind of, we did, but he didn't feel like he was ready to make the big step. And so I went back to the U.S., went back to Chicago, and still worked for the same company. And then I got a phone call one day, and I answered the phone and said hello, and he was very quietly saying hello, and he said, are you sitting down? And I said, okay, I'm sitting down. And he said it so quietly, I thought I heard him say, will you marry me? Mm-hmm. But I thought, no, I couldn't have heard that because he already told me, like, there's no way. So I said, would you repeat that, please? And so he said, are you going to make me say that again? And I said, yes. So that was it. We came back from Australia a few months later, and we were married in Chicago. And the day after our wedding, or 2 days, we flew back to Australia together.
There's some people here call us the nun and the rock star because
get together, right? A nun and a rock.
He was playing music, violin at Carnegie Hall, and I was playing at blues clubs, black clubs and white clubs, because we had black singers and we could do both at that time. And anyway, people make a bit of fun of us from that standpoint. We went back to Australia. We stayed there 3 years and went back 10 years later, and we helped a company get started there and do training and everything like that. So that was kind of our business background as we started. And we came back here, and then after that, some unusual things started taking place. We had the last month we were in Australia, a gentleman came from India, and he was speaking over there, and I'm going, wow, that's interesting about India. And I prayed one time, said, God, don't ever send me to Africa or India, because I heard some horror stories about how the poverty was, and it didn't sound like a place I want to go. And so anyway, we heard this gentleman speak, and he went back to India, and he told his brother-in-law, hey, when you go to the U.S., you need to look this couple up and spend a little time with them, and they could help us here with what we're doing. And so he came to the U.S., Pastor Thampy from South India, and we met him, and we were helping a little bit, and he kept asking me, "You need to come to India." And I said, "I haven't lost anything over there. And I don't need to go to India." He said, "Yes, you need to come and help me. You don't, this job not for you. Not for you. You need to come and help me." And I'm going, "I don't think so." I went home and told Arlene, "He wants me to go to India." And she said, "Well, maybe we can help him with some business ideas, from the U.S. to India, or from India bring products over here." So finally, I made the trip in the year 2000 to India. And so I got there, and I could not believe it. I arrived at 3 o'clock in the morning, and my plane was late, and it was a gentleman waiting for me there in Mumbai, India. And so the driving down there, and I got sick on the plane. I usually never do that. Anyway, I get there, and I said, "Take me to the first hotel. As you see, I've been sick on the plane, and I need to get some rest tonight." So we're driving there, and there were people laying in the middle of the medium there with sleeping at night. And then there was a large circus tent there, and there was a Hindu festival going on and things like that. And I'm thinking, I think I want to get on the plane and go back home. That was my kind of first introduction. And then I met some of the people there, and went back again in 2004. And we actually had a good bonding between a lot of the people there, and a gentleman that was actually had 4 children, 2 in the ministry, and 2 with orphanage there. And another one of the children were working with children on the streets and in the slums of India and all of that. So second trip, I went in there in 2004, or I had one other trip in 2002, I think, and in 2004, I came back and I told Arlene, I said, "I don't know what we can do, but," I said, "they're really going into the slums and seeing children that haven't eaten, they do not have any education, anything like that. So maybe we can do something." So I'll let Arlene share what we did.
Well, when Gene came back and he told me the stories while he was there during the 2 trips he made to India, the second time he came back, his heart was so touched and so moved that for 2 weeks he couldn't really sleep at night. He kept seeing pictures of these children that he saw there. And there is a story about the 2 girls he saw with the mother. But anyway, he kept saying, "I don't know what we can do. What can we do?" And I hadn't been there yet, and I'm thinking, what can we possibly do from here to help India? So we did pray about it, and Gene shared a few stories. Do you want to share the one before I go on?
Yeah, I was. They were actually did a van, and had a band, and they put food on the back of it. And they started out very minor, just going into a slum area, and they would feed the children 1 meal. And then they saw that the children would not get an education unless they can get some basic English and some math and some things like that, and actually get a uniform. They couldn't even go to school. So they started working that way, and then they got a school bus and converted that, and put the food on the back of the school bus and drove into a lot of the slum areas. I went in there with them, and this one day I was just taking pictures, and I got back to, I stayed in a place there in Mumbai, and just kind of that night I was so touched because I went scrolling back through the film that I'd taken that day, and there was a little girl there that was just unbelievable. It just touched me so much.
I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
We call her the girl in blue because we never really got to know her, and we don't really know what happened to her since Gene saw her. But if you look in her eyes, if you can see the glaze in her eyes, you can see that this was one little girl that could have been abused and was on that bus that Gene saw. So we keep it here in our office just to remind us.
That was something that moved me from a vision and maybe a purpose to a calling. And a lot of people do not realize, even us training, we had goals, we had a vision, we had a purpose. But when I went there and I saw this, it was kind of like, this is a calling. It's something I've never experienced before, but it's something we can do to help. So I came back and we finally decided, hey, we'll put $50 in the bank. We'll write some letters to people and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. And how can you help us? Can you donate some money? And we're going to help the people that we're working with. So that's the way we got started in India. And now we have 3 orphanages that we support. We have a young guy that we met just maybe 5 years ago, Arlene, and he came over and he was living in a remote part of India, and he was only 16 and 17, and he was looking over this wall one day, and he met a young child there, and he said, hey, where do you live there? And he said, I live in this village over here. So he went over the wall and he went in there, and that's a poverty village. It was nothing like just a tarp, a tent, maybe a thatched hut with palm trees, limbs over the top of it and things like that, and children in poverty that even he hadn't seen. So we've been helping him now for several years with a poverty village where it's about 400 to 500 families there and 150 some children. And he goes in also and feeds the children and educates them and all of those things. So this became not a vision or a purpose. It became a calling for us and something that was really giving us meaning in our life. And we felt like we were doing something that just a regular purpose or vision in business wasn't there anymore.
Right. And after Jean came back and told me some of the stories, I hadn't been there yet, of course. And we did both realize, and we prayed about it and thought, what could we possibly do? And so as you heard Jean say, it just became a vision to us. It was even more than our business plans and all, which we intended to keep doing, but it was like this calling that we both felt drawn to. And I think that's something that comes from the Spirit, that you just know that you know. And I began to catch the vision from Jean. And that's the beautiful part about any of our life stories. If other people can catch a vision
Right.
of something we're doing, it can really add value to their lives as well. So we talked about it and we prayed about it, but we didn't have a lot of money to put into backing this. So we just went to the bank. We put $50 in a bank account, $50. And we just said, this is going to be the start. And Jean actually got the purpose statement.
Oh yeah, we just felt like we had a purpose there. One purpose, one passion, one mission: rescue the children.
Yeah.
And so that's been our motto from the time we started.
And so that did become our mission. And so after that, I sat down and began to write letters to my family and friends. And we just told them what we wanted to do, that we wanted to help support street children, children in the villages, orphans who are left in the street. And in a bit, I can share with you some details of when I did go to India. So we just described it.
Excuse me. I take her to the best slums in India.
Yes.
I know.
I'll interject this. I don't know if you saw or any of the listeners saw Slumdog Millionaire. It's a Hollywood, Bollywood type of movie. But there's a lot of truth that went on in the film. And there was a picture in one of the largest trash dumps in all of India that they filmed there. And the guy comes up with a Coke, I think, and he's trying to give it to 2 children to recruit them into trafficking and child labor. And so anyway, Arlene when I went there the first time, I got to take her to this particular slum. So.
Anyhow, okay, we'll come back to the slums. But so I just wrote these letters, very simple letters to our family, friends, and we told them we're about to start Mission for Orphans. And if you feel in your heart, you can share some donations, love gift offerings to Mission for Orphans to help us feed, clothe, and help educate these children that Jean has been seeing in India. And that's basically how it started. And we didn't know what was going to happen with it. We never dreamed that 20 years later we would still be doing this and seeing orphanages and seeing thousands of kids rescued off the streets, widows that are left, the fathers leave, and they're left with no money, nothing to be able to feed their children with. So, so people started responding little by little. And then our church certainly helped us in a big way. The members of the church caught the vision also, and so they began donating. And what we thought was going to be a very small thing, of course, it isn't as large as we'd like to see it, but it grew and it grew, and people caught the vision. And I think even for a message today to anyone who might be listening, they may have an inner dream or something that they're looking at that could seem impossible to reach. But Jean has a sign in our office that says, "Trust your crazy ideas." So, you know, that's one way, is to kind of trust in your crazy ideas. You've got it right here. Yeah, trust your crazy ideas. But,
yeah, I love that.
You know, you begin to see that your life can expand into other people's lives around you. And I'm not necessarily saying that it has to be orphans or widows or anything like that, but some kind of dream that you might have. Maybe you don't have the financial means to get it started. Well, with $50 in the bank and a dream and some prayer and some crazy ideas, and telling people about it, sharing it with people that you trust. Share those dreams with people you trust, not with people that are going to put you down, but share it with people that will encourage you to say, "Hey, maybe you can do that. Maybe I can help." You know, we had children, I mean, like in first, second, third grades, who would bring their piggy banks, you know, have a table outside, and they would bring their piggy banks, and we'd be able to give them pictures of the children. So it's just amazing what can happen.
The Vacation Bible School that just had.
Right, and we just had the Vacation Bible School kids at our church, just, what was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago they finished. And that Vacation Bible School raised
$1,300 for it.
Little kids coming to vacation, bringing their change, bringing their dollars. So, you know, it can be a bigger dream that you have, but I think we're here to share with people too, like, not to give up. You know, it's never too late. It's never too late. We started this 20 years ago, and 20 years ago, and I know Jean said maybe we shouldn't say this, but 20 years ago we were 63. So you know what age we are today, but that's when we started. So, you know, you think sometimes, well, in your youth you're going to catch this. Well, we caught on to something bigger than ourselves at 63 and kept going with it. And here we are 20 years later. He's still going to India and hoping to go back soon. And it's just been a wonderful, wonderful, not only experience, but a dream come true. And to see what's happened in these kids' lives. So we also took a thing from the Bible, which is Proverbs 31:8, which says, "Speak up for those who cannot speak up for themselves." And that became part of our mission as well. And that kept us going.
The stories, I encourage anybody, because in the training, we taught people to step out, even if you want to get something, put something away in a bank or do something to start the dream. Take that first step. And that's one of the things, but you got to keep that dream alive. And I think that's where a lot of people fall down. And I kept going to India every year or 2 years. We got a chance. I went into the slums, went into the orphanages. And you hear these stories, you see the children, and it just touches your heart, and it keeps the dream alive. Like one of the groups we work with there in Mumbai is that they would go in and they would help the children and feed them. But there's sideline stories out of that would happen. One day they were going, the team close to where this bridge was, And underneath the bridge was a mother that was in prostitution, and she had 2 children, and she was pregnant with the third child, so she couldn't really bring any money in, and they were pretty well starving. So the team that we were working with took the 2 little children and the woman and actually took care of her for a while. And as soon as she had the third child, she got up and walked away and left all 3 children. So those children were then taken to an orphanage in South India that we were working with and helping them to get a building and all of those things. So there was 3 that possibly wouldn't be here today if somebody there didn't help, and if some donors here didn't help us. It may have made those. We don't know what would happen. Now the oldest girl now is in nursing college, and she's going and was raised in there in the orphanage there now, getting educated. And we have a lot of stories like that. Arlene and I went into Calcutta, India, and went into the slums there. And Arlene went in and was part of a group that was working there with working with a team. What did you say?
Can I tell that story?
Yes.
I asked him, "Are we talking too much?"
Love your stories.
Well, when I finally got to go to India with Jean together, I never dreamed what I would experience or see or hear. I had no idea, except imagining the stories that Jean would share. But when I went, we traveled 5,000 miles in India during that trip. And it was very, very hot. And we just went from place to place. But one of the biggest impacts that I really carried with me in my heart was when they took a feeding, they feed the buses, the street feeding buses, and they take the food into the slums, and the street kids who just live in the streets, little ones, babies with diapers on, walking around. So they took us on the bus into the largest garbage dump in India. And this is in that movie that Jean spoke about too, the largest trash dump. And so we pulled in there, and all the food was on the bus, and they had little paper plate things to feed them on. And so we got off the bus, and I got off the bus and I looked around, and there was no one. It was perfect. There was no one, just trash from here to the ceiling. The floor of the area of the trash dump was not mud or stone or anything. It was all trash. You were walking in trash. And I took a few steps, and I looked around, and there was nothing except this terrible smell. And we were in the middle of the trash dump. All of a sudden, little by little, you can imagine this, little kids coming out from these mountains of trash. Okay, I mean mountains. They're coming out, walking out, just kind of peeking. They see the bus. They're coming down. Some women, very poverty-stricken women, holding a baby, coming out from other areas because they knew the bus was there to feed them. Well, I kind of froze. I didn't know if I was going to be sick, literally, but I kind of froze standing there. And I remember standing there till today saying, God, what am I doing here? I didn't know what to do, and I really couldn't get myself to move. I never saw anything like this. And all I felt in my heart was this dim voice by the Spirit saying, just hug them. And that's what I heard. And that's what I started doing. They started getting fed, but I would go up and hug them. And they would hug you so tight they didn't want to let you go, because I knew they wanted us to take them with us. I could feel it in them, that they wanted us to take them, and we couldn't. So that was one experience. Another kind of brighter experience was we went to the girls' orphanage that we were first able to help build. And we got to see the girls there. And they were so happy. And they were all had nice looking clothing, and they're fed every day their meals. They were going to school. So we could really enjoy being there. They came up and sang for us in Indian. They couldn't, most of them couldn't speak English, so we had an interpreter all the time. But they were just laughing all the time. And when it came time to leave, we were there at the one orphanage about 4 days, and it came time to leave. Well, they were hanging on their legs and their arms. No, go, don't go, please don't go, please don't. They were crying. It was like they had to take the kids away from us, you know. But anyway, today we have several of these children. They've aged out of the orphanages, and they have to age out. They can't continue there. So even if they don't have anywhere to go, so that's the part now these last few years we've been working on, to give them some vocational training. So when they leave, some of those girls had to leave and go back out into the streets because they had nowhere to go. And we didn't have money to be able to help them to get work. So now it's developed more into educating so that when they leave, they have somewhere to go and they don't have to go back into the streets, or the young girls don't have to go back into prostitution. They don't have to do these things all over again. But we have several of the girls today who call us mom and dad. We talk to them on the phone, sometimes once a week, twice a week. A few of them are married and started a family. So we've been able to follow them from little all the way up, you know, some 20 years. So that's been the joy for us. But there's been a lot of sadness when you see the children. And some of the people, though not all of them, because let me tell you, we have some beautiful Indian friends. But we don't want people to get like we're against India or they're such a terrible country. No, it's not true. It's just the circumstances that happen there and happen with they have so many people there, so many children are born, and they just have no place to put them, no place to go. But we have many wonderful Indian friends, and we just love what they're doing to help, or we're able to help them really, to keep these kids going. And so it's been such a life work the past 20 years. It's been so rewarding, you know, so rewarding. And that's what I think we want to encourage other people too. And other people have been encouraged to join us in this. And so now with the education, that's going to be the next leap of faith, is to get the tools to educate them. So even now we're trying to get computers to them. So it would be good, you know, when the donations come in, that we could send the money, because the American dollar is worth so much more in India, where they could buy the computers there. But, you know, this is the computer age, and if they could get those kids onto computers, they would have a big opportunity of doing something when they leave.
One of the things that we would do also, we started, and we did see the problem with not being educated and sometimes not knowing what to do because they cannot get jobs, because it's 1.3 billion, I think, one of the largest populations in the world next to China. And so with our experience in training, we started training some of the people in the different areas. And we've seen a lot of fruit coming out of that. We have one young woman that we're really proud of in the northern part of India. And we would go in there, and Arlene went with us in that particular area, also trained several times in a place called Ranchi, India, in northern India above Calcutta. And we would go in and teach them entrepreneurship. So, but it was hard to visualize, how do I teach them when we know they don't have any money to start with? So sometimes I would just pick up a phone, or I had at that time I had a camera with me, and I asked one of the classes, I said, "What is this?" And they said, "It's a camera." I said, "Yes, it is." And what can you do? You can take pictures with it. I said, "What else can you do?" And they were kind of stumped in what I was saying. And a professor was sitting in the back, and he was kind of negative, like, where is this going? You know, another one of those things. Where did this guy come from trying to tell us this is a camera? And I said, "Well, what else can you do with a camera?" And they said, "Well, you can take pictures." And I said, "Yeah, and if you're good at that, taking pictures, maybe you can sell some of the pictures and make some money. And if you get real good at it, then you can buy a camera and then start taking better pictures, and then wedding pictures, and then you can start making money with it." So the whole attitude changed when they saw that, hey, maybe there's a possibility here I could do something. So one of the young girls picked this up and she started getting Indian cloth. And she's doing this today. And what she does is she just actually puts the cloth online, and where she can see that people can take a look at it. Beautiful, beautiful cloth she got from a hand loom place there. And she just goes on, shows it, no website, nothing, just goes on to Facebook, shows the cloth. Then she started modeling it and everything like that. And she's created a good business out of that. So we start teaching the kids things like that, and also the older children, this is what you can do. This is how you can start something and maybe succeed with it, because we're giving them hope. We're giving them ideas and things like that. So that's a big part of what we've been able to do with our background experience, both Arlene and myself, to encourage them, either on the phone sometime, on a Zoom call or whatever, just to try to keep them encouraged.
Well, that is great. Going from no food and really not even at basic math skills, if you can't even go to school, to being able to start a business or, work, um, is really amazing. So, why is India like that? Why is it that there's so many people on the streets compared to like other countries?
See, going there many times, I've been to many parts in tribal areas of India. It may sound strange to some people because it's a really remote area where the poverty villages are and things like that. The population is so huge, 1.3 billion. There's just not enough jobs sometimes. There's not enough education for the children. So it's very difficult if you're raised in an environment. How do you ever break out of that environment? That's a tough one right now. One of the poverty villages, this young man and his family are now building a two-story orphanage. I think two-story or three orphanage. We're probably going to come alongside of him. Just got to get more funding there. And then we got the children in that poverty village coming into an environment there where they can be taught, they can start getting education, and then you can go from there. But getting a few computers, getting a little bit of technology there, learning English is a big thing in India also. But I think it's because of the population. You just cannot imagine the number of people in Mumbai and Calcutta and New Delhi, the major cities, but that population is spread all the way to the border of Nepal, all the way down to the south tip of India. And it's a huge country. It's a population wise.
There's over 300,000 street children
just in
across India.
Mumbai alone, just in that one particular area. That's even hard to imagine. They're selling things on the streets that they pick up. Child labor is a big thing in India. A lot of people don't understand that. Trafficking is big, and it's again, the Slumdog Millionaire and several movies that's been out kind of shows some of the things and the problems that's there. One of the things that they do, the traffickers, they'll go into like where the tea plantations. Some of the women there make $1.50 or $2 per day. They cannot even afford a home or anything like that. They get a tent sometimes, or and the children are born there, live there, die there, never get out of that environment. So it's a tough thing when you see these situations. You don't know how. It's overwhelming. So you just have to kind of take it one step at a time, do one project at a time, and just help get the people situated where they can get in a area where they can get some education, because that is the key. And there's other people doing this type of work now. They realize the situation, and slowly it's taken us time to figure this out. How can we add more value, as Arlene is saying, to the adults, but also then in return they will teach the children how to find entrepreneurship, or through getting a job, at least they got education. Our country and UK and many other countries need nurses right now. So a lot of the girls are going into nursing school. They're getting jobs. We've got friends now. Just one that was in Czech Republic, where our son has been for a while in Czech Republic, and he's from India and went there to work, and he married a girl from India. They just moved to Ireland because she had training in nursing. So there's a lot of job opportunities opening up international, which is helping also.
Yeah, so it's kind of sad that they have to move out of their country to find something, but at least, once they have the skills. So are you training teachers and setting up schools there? Is that how they're learning? Is there people who are continuing to teach and more teachers coming up through that system?
Some of the areas they are. We've got a new project that they have a school there. It's a private school that they're able to go to. We have two very educated young women. One's 25, the other one's, I think, 21 years old. Both of them are college students, and so they're training them. So we're in that environment. We've had basically full control of there because we actually have set this up, and they were hired and vetted by us by phone. And also we have a gentleman working with us. It's also managed that he's from India and from the area. He's helped us a lot with how to do this. And so little by little, we're learning what to do. That's our next big project. We're actually looking now to send letters out to corporations that maybe can bring in more donations for us. And hopefully, if there's a millionaire out there listening, help us to get the tools or whatever that we need. When I see the things going on with our economy here and the population, and now with the upcoming political situation, and where they can raise 45 million or 100 million in just a week or two, is something Arlene and I dream about. Hey,
don't need that much.
But 2 million or 3 million, I can imagine how much what we could do in that country with that now, with our knowledge and what we've seen, and knowing how to help and knowing how to make a difference. What difference can we make with that kind of funds? So I started in business a year or two ago, back in business in the direct sales field to raise money. I'm also an inventor, and I've had a prototype that I thought was going to be available in 2 years. It's taken me an extra 2 years because of chips coming out of Taiwan, things like that. So I've got that ready. I've got to get it actually patented, and then I'm going to not market that myself and raise money because we want to keep our focus on what we're doing. But I want to license that. I'm not going on the Shark Tank. You won't see me there. But I love some of the people on Shark Tank, and if I can get one of them on Shark Tank that I really love, to see if she could help me get it licensed, that would be a great opportunity. To all of these things are, again, for us to raise the funding to do what we really want to do, when we grow up.
When you grow up. So, how do people connect with you? Do you have websites, or should they connect with you on social media or emails? How should people connect with you if they want to be involved in somehow, some way, or give a donation?
The best way is mission numeral 4 orphans. Mission numeral 4 orphans.com/donate. Or they can look at the website, and then we have a donate page there. That's the best way. A lot of people donate through there, which we're connected through PayPal, and make it real simple. And then some people, we got our address in there, PO box, and they can send a check or whatever. So we do that. We don't do a lot of outside speaking engagements because people know if we're coming into a church, sometimes they know that we want to raise funding, and a lot of people are stretched because of the economy right now, so that makes it more difficult. The beautiful part of it, the beautiful part about it is the people that we got on board 20 years ago. Some of those people are still with us, and that's because of my wife's talent. Every single donation that comes in, a letter goes out right after that. Within a day or two, we send it out. They are part of this vision. They become part of the vision. As Arlene said, we go to, especially myself, I go in those areas, I take pictures so that they can see, I take little video clips and that type of thing. So they can catch the vision along with what we're doing and feel a part of it. So that's what has kept us, a lot of nonprofit organizations go under sometime because this is the most difficult job we ever had to raise money. Could you please give us some money?
Yes, it is. But you know, so many people are willing,
Yes.
and we try to let the people know too that it doesn't matter how little or how
Right.
much. There's no, you know what I'm saying? People think, oh, well, I don't have $100 or $200 to give, and so they don't give. But no, if you have $10, $5, we have people there, and that's what we try to let them know. It doesn't matter the amount. No amount is too small. No amount is too big either.
Mm.
Um, as Jean said, the people who give, they most of them really, um, some we haven't met at all, okay, but we have such a great communication with them, and they've become our friends really, and
Right.
friends of the children, because we can send that communication back to them. It's very important to thank the people who are
Right.
part of what you're doing. You know, gratitude is so important.
Yes.
And we can send them the pictures. We can write the story of what just happened a month ago.
Mhm.
And they write back to us and say, oh, I love to see the smile of those kids, or we're so sorry that this happened, you know, and they feel a part of it. So I guess, you know, being grateful,
Yes.
and we're so grateful that our life became a part of this, you know, of this vision. And we know that, you know, God has blessed us. And so we really want to honor God and thank him for blessing us in this way. And as I said, really, as we became more adults, okay, in our upper adulthood. So just, you know, never give up. We just kind of laugh about it because we think,
Yeah.
what are we doing? You know,
People say, are you tired? I
you
said,
should retire. What
yeah, we need to go lay on the beach and go fishing.
No,
My sister, if she's listened to this, last time she came down, what are you doing? You're still working. I said, you enjoy it.
yeah, we do. We do. We really.
Well, that is wonderful. So now I have a personal question, but I think I know the answer already, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So, Arlene, I'll have you answer it first. What gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life at this point?
Point. Okay. The most peace and joy comes from God to me, really. And then my family, our family. Okay. We have 5 children. We have 12, 13 grandchildren,
Yes. 4 great
4
grandchildren.
grandchildren, and 1 great child on the way.
Nice. Congratulations.
Priorities. And then, of course, the work that we do with these other children. That's what we call us. So we were just so blessed to come into this at the time of the life that it did, because we probably would have retired if we could have afforded it, right? We would have retired and still enjoyed our family, but you know, we wouldn't have the joy and the meaning in our lives that we have today. So that's what I'm grateful for.
Right, thank you. And then, Jean, what gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life at this point?
The, the real meaning and purpose and the calling and the vision, keep going to India to see the children. That you cannot get over it. Like Arlene said, that the last time Arlene said they were holding on her legs, one little girl jumped up in my arms, hugging me, and I'm going, whoa, somebody took a picture of it, and it's my favorite picture. And I'm bawling, she's crying. I'm going, please take me with you. Oh my God.
Oh.
Going, don't do this to me. 5 years from that, before that, there was a little boy that came up and he's holding onto my legs. Can I go to America with you? And I'm going, don't ask me that question. So So one day you're going to get off the plane and you're going to have
I really thought
you're going to
that.
be the Pied Piper. You're going to have all these children coming.
That's right. They're gonna all be there.
The only thing I cannot figure out a way to do that because even with the population, the adoption is not easy in some of these
No.
countries, including, and because of trafficking also, they don't know, are these kids really being trafficked? So that's a big problem in India as well as Africa and other countries around the world with the trafficking. A lot of people don't understand how that happens. Going back to the tea plantation, I'll explain how some of this takes place. So they know that these people are in poverty. So a trafficker will go into that area and say, oh, you've got a teenager here and we can take them to New Delhi, we can take them to Mumbai, and we can put them to work and they can send some money back to you. And here we can give you 7,000 rupees, which is about $100, and we'll take care of them and they'll get a job. People that have not been educated do not understand, or they don't understand. They see $100, I can feed my family for a while here. So yes, we'll take that and never hear from that child again unless they're taken some kind of way escape from that trafficking situation. That's one of the things we would really like to work on also, but that takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of education in that particular field. By just getting them off the street in an orphanage and the things that we're already doing will help that situation, but it's not the total answer. There's a lot of people that are working on that. And we can too, because we have the people on the ground. We have the workers there. We have the people that are educated there. They want to do that, but they just need the funding to be able to do that.
And there again, just to add about the people in India, they are wonderful people and they're caring people. The ones who really want to help, they're amazing. We couldn't have done anything without the people on the ground there who wanted to start this and maybe didn't know how. But I mean, they take care of their own. And it's a beautiful thing to see that too. So it's like in any country, you have the people who are just right in there, and then you have people, that don't care. So, but India is like that too. But we have so many, again, beautiful friends there that we wouldn't trade for anything.
Yeah, for 20 years, so many friends all across India, and we just love. That's part of both of our joy to see them starting to succeed, to get a home that they could never afford because they either in ministry they're doing something, they've got a side job that they're doing something where two of them may be working. We went to, or I did this last trip in there. There was a school in the northern part of India that had over 2,000 children there. This is a huge motivation to me because I went in there to speak and they asked me to go there. I had to travel by car. I couldn't even get on a plane into this particular area. When I went there, they had computers, they had a music school, they had all kinds of things. This is a great vision for us. And also, we're getting near the time, so I'm going to read something. This could be a motivation for other people. Thomas Bernardo in the late 1800s, and somebody sent this to me, and I've kept it, and also a story about George Mueller. But this is so powerful. He says, get serious about helping needy people. And he took, in the late 1800s, he built a home for destitute children, over 400 boys and girls. And also later, he built a village for girls that served more than 9,000 during his lifetime. In all, more than 60,000 children benefited from the vocational training centers and homes he built in extreme cases. And so this is such a motivation. Also, George Mueller, he founded 117 schools in the late 1800s also that offered Christian education to 120,000 children, many of them without any parents. And so this is a motivation that is in our heart, and it's something that we know that we can do, and we just look for breakthrough, just like you do in a regular business. We look for breakthrough in this particular business.
All right. Well, thank you. Well, thanks for being on the podcast today and your stories and telling us about India. So I have one last question before we finish, and I'll ask you first, Arlene. What is your best advice on living an incredible, amazing life?
Find out what it is that is deep in your heart that you would really like to accomplish. And don't let your life become all about yourself. You know, just look around you, search for what that purpose and meaningful life is to you. And then, as we said, trust your crazy ideas and get out there. Just get out there and start. Take that first step and see what happens. And the other thing I would say is, if you're a person of prayer and a person who knows God, is to pray and ask, and you will receive. You will get ideas. So that's what.
Thank you. What about you, Jean? What's your best advice in living an incredible, amazing life?
I learned many years ago, I think, when I had the band and then I got into personal self-development, I realized that you cannot just sit back and retire and be happy. I see a lot of people are retired, but they're not very happy. So it's having something that with meaning in it, something that you see other people succeeding, that you have a talent and you have a gift, and you're to use it. You're not to sit on it. So I think that is the biggest thing, because we've learned the lessons through people training us, and in return, we've been able to train them. It gives us a lot of joy. We have one young girl, and this is a hard story. She was a twin, and because girls are not favored in India, they gave her away and kept the boy. And when I heard that, it broke both of us. We were there and met her and everything, and we said, "Wow, she was so broken. How can you imagine a parent giving away a child?" It's so foreign to our thinking, and those things motivate me. We can help her now. We helped her through nursing school. She needed a lot of counseling. We took her so far, and then we couldn't do the rest of it because of the hurt was so much that we got some help with that. So this is what motivates both of us. We're able to take our talent, our gift that we've been given, and give it back.
And if I could add to that one more thing, and that is, when you're doing this, whatever work you're doing or whatever, you feel your purpose is, don't forget your family. Keep your priorities in order. We have found that out sometimes through hard knocks, but eventually we got it. We have a purpose, but we have, our God, our family. Don't neglect your own family. Even though we see all these other families in that, we still have our own family also to love, and that we can to and receive joy back. So I just wanted to.
All right. Well, thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you for listening to our story. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yes.
Yes, we really, really appreciate it.
And we love what you're doing. I saw several of the clips. I'm going to see more of them. And you're touching a lot of lives around the world. And God bless you for that and what you're doing.
People tell their stories.
And letting people tell their stories, because people want to share. And, you've got the platform to do it. And thank you so much for the day. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. We'll talk to you again soon.
Okay.